Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me once again, my good buddy, colleague, and pal, Mr. Brian E. Roach. Hey, Brian, we're finally on the same page. We're finally together.
Wait, what do you mean finally? Weren't we together earlier this week?
We were earlier this week, but we were trying.
We're finally together twice. That's it.
Well, it's not only that. If only people could see kind of the behind-the-scenes inner workings sometimes, and just like it was just like a comedy of like misfires as to, hey, let's jump on this time, let's get this out this time, let's do whatever. So we are marginally awake and drinking our caffeinated beverages of choice. I know you've got the one that gives you wings over there. I've got the coffee in the Steelers mug, and we're here to talk about some more Steelers offseason kind of plans. The last episode we discussed, the hiring of Brian Flores. We beat the dead horse that is the quarterback story again, so we're going to try to avoid that a little bit. And I had mentioned this a few episodes ago about who stays, who goes. But we're going to get a little more in-depth into this, I think, because now I have my man over here. I got the dude. He's got his opinions, and now he can fill in some of the blanks where, I need more coffee. So
I understand.
I got something to address, though. I maybe two somethings. I'm always listening to the Sirius XM NFL radio, and I think it was is it Bill Lekis or Bob Lekis? And then it's I feel bad not knowing the real name there, but Bruce Gradkowski. And I like how people just immediately insinuate that Mason Rudolph is not in the plans or the picture, and the Steelers will do something else. And then the names that get thrown out. Like, I could handle, they're going to make a power play for like an Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. I could even sympathize with the analysts or media or whatever, bloggers, everybody else that's out there, talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, I get it. Maybe you didn't dig as deep. Maybe you like him better than I do. Fair. Tyrod Taylor. And I love when people throw around, Brian, a gap. He could be a gap quarterback, a bridge quarterback. Where's that bridge going exactly? Because I don't think it improves your team. The whole thought process of drafting someone in the first round, which I could also sympathize with. They've only been doing it for the Steelers for the last 5 years or more. And then Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that, top flight quarterback. Okay, that puts you into contention, right? Immediately. When you throw out a name like Tyrod Taylor, and it's not just Tyrod Taylor, obviously. There's many others that I will not mention. But he doesn't do anything else to move the needle for me. Does he give you any real more experience? If you put him on the roster, where is he in camp? You can't assume that he would be the starter either. I don't understand the thought process there.
This is my comment, right? My comment is we started the show by saying we weren't going to talk about quarterbacks.
Well, there was the one. There's just the one. Well, it goes into this because it's our it's kind of like we have to for like a moment here. Yeah, I've got another thing to pull up too, as far as a dumb tweet, and there's many of them that come from the Pittsburgh media. But like when I hear these things, I don't even think I've mentioned Tyrod Taylor. I may have. He's been snake bitten with bad injuries, but it's not like the guy has like amazing yards per attempt. I know people are very enamored with running backs that move around, but a lot of these guys are using their feet first before. They don't read the defense, or they can't read a defense, or they're just not confident in making certain throws. It will be the same exact. It may be worse than last season. Okay, he runs around, maybe he can extend plays, but people think that's immediately going to be like vintage Ben Roethlisberger, and it's not. It's not the same quality of player. Is Josh Allen that type of player? Yes, and he could really move around the field. Is Patrick Mahomes that type of player? Yeah. Well, you see how the Chiefs do or die with that type of system. So, there's benefits, but there's a reason. If Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett, or some of these other names, Marcus Mariota, that get floated around, were in that same category of names that we just mentioned. Russell Wilson, you could put him with another one. I guess Aaron Rodgers, he's always been somebody that could extend plays. If they were in that same category, they wouldn't be free agents. They wouldn't be available. And so I don't understand when somebody dumps them on the Steelers. But let me throw you this tweet. This goes right in the same wheelhouse, and then we could talk about priorities here, right? It's Andrew Filipponi, who 1A and 1B with Mark Madden anymore, right?
Well, Pony is Pony, man,
yeah, I think he's a New Yorker or something. He just is not. How do you get a job in Pittsburgh sports and then you're just with bad takes all the time? Or that's his
man. That's his whatever you want to call it. That's his shtick. I'm Mr. Bad Take.
It's even more.
I think he relishes in it.
Oh yeah, it's even more baseless though than Mr. Madden. I mean, Mr. Madden came out with something. He's talking about the defense. He's got some half truths in there. Maybe he didn't scratch the surface, or maybe he does it because that's his particular slant or bias, and that I could sympathize with. Then he opens his mouth and it's pure hot garbage that comes out sometimes. But Pony is like almost like 100% like just rotten, just bad, freezing cold takes sometimes. And this is his latest, or one of his latest, that on the 22-22, it has to be something. Was the moon in alignment with whatever? I think the Steelers believe they can make the playoffs playing defense and running the football with a quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater. Now, if this makes you puzzle a little bit, I'll tell you why in a second. Get back to old school Steelers football, beef up the trenches, and go with an experienced game manager. Now, Teddy has been bouncing around the league. Not a guy that always stays healthy. Somebody I liked maybe several years ago and now has, I think, run his course. What's he going to be on? Let's see, Minnesota, New Orleans, Carolina, and Denver. So this would be, if he went to the Steelers, his fourth team in as many years. Lifetime, yeah, he completes some passes. Yards per attempt, 7.3. That's not so terrible. But last year with Denver, 14 games, 66.9. Nice. Completion percentage, 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. But then the year before, he was like 15-11. Then he was 9-2. And then it goes all over. His rookie year, 14-12. So he's kind of erratic there. And he doesn't take a lot of sacks. But, I mean, it just doesn't do a whole lot for me. If you couldn't do that in Denver, and you've got like Noah Fant as a tight end, and you got Cortland Sutton and KJ Hamler, and they have another young wide receiver that's there. They've got quite a few guys you could throw the ball to. They got a run game, and you still can't get anything going. I don't see how you're going to do much better with Pittsburgh. But this is the great part about this tweet. He said, get back playing defense and running the football with a quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater. Now, I read this as Teddy Bridgewater could run the football.
I don't read it that way, but I understand why you read it that way. I didn't,
because because everyone's talking about mobile quarterbacks, right? And I had to bring up the fact that he ran for 106 yards last season in 14 games. That's not a whole lot of running, and that was exactly half of what Mason Rudolph did in one game. Or double. Mason did half of that in that Lions game, 53 yards. So when we were looking for somebody that could game manage and maybe move around and not get sacked, I think, what did I say? Mason's only taken like 15 sacks in his career so far in 10 games. I'm going to leave it at that. That record is getting scratched to death. But, of course, when Ben Roethlisberger's the top name that's departing and you got to replace as the part of the free agent class, I think that was important to bring up. But somebody somewhere will think that Teddy Bridgewater is a mobile quarterback, and he's not. He's just like Dwayne Haskins. He's just like Mason Rudolph. These are pocket passer types. So, Brian, with that said, I think we're on the same page, but I'll have you reaffirm.
Yeah.
Is quarterback a top priority for you this offseason?
Nope.
I don't even know that it's top 3 for me. And a lot of people will think that's a really hot take, and it's really not.
It's a non-zero priority, meaning it there's a value if you can find the right thing, but it's mostly zero.
Yeah, and what's the reason? What would be your top priority then? I'm not going to fill in the blank for you. I've said it.
My top priority is I have 2 priorities. All right, fix the offensive line and shore up the defense. One way, those are the two priorities, and that is handle the backfield in the defense, handle the line in the defense if you have to, and fix the offensive line. Those are my priorities.
Those are my three as well. And I think offensive line is a bigger priority for me, followed by secondary because of the free agents, of which we're going to talk about. And then we'll see defensive line, it's about who returns. Well, that one becomes a little easier. Although, Tyson Alualu, what's he going to be now, like 35 years old?
Yeah.
I think he's in that neighborhood. But, hey, depending on who's coming back, I think you got some folks that could fill in that gap there. Obviously, Chris Wormley. Imagine if they didn't sign him last year. And I know people will complain until the cows come home about free agency. They were over $30 million in debt to the cap. They were over the cap, and they had to do all kind of things. Restructure Cameron Hayward, restructure Ben Roethlisberger, who also takes a pay cut and would have accounted to like 25% of the cap. And that's the reason why we say this when it comes to offensive line, defensive line, and secondary. There's a meme floating around, and you may have seen it. Others listening here or watching may have seen it. And it's like something like if you're a quarterback and you're taking up 12 or more percent of your team's salary cap, have yet to win a Super Bowl in the last, I don't know, whatever. Probably this dates back to the other CBA back in like 2011 or 2012 when they changed a lot of the rookie contracts and the veteran compensation. So you didn't get Jamarcus Russell coming out of college and landing like $30 million for whatever, a signing bonus and whatnot. The veterans were a little more PO'd about how rookies were coming in, and then if the rookies sucked, the teams were upset because it's a bad investment, and they totally blew that thing up. Well, now it's the other way around. It's like the quarterback goes to a second contract, and we've said it many times here, and there's exceptions to this. But for most of it, the Seahawks, Russell Wilson on a rookie contract, or this year, Joe Burrow, rookie contract. So you got that. Now, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, those are the ones that are going to come up in the most recent years, but you got to remember they joined teams that had been perpetually, decently bad. I'm going to say the Rams were somewhere in there, but the Rams also have a lot of talented players that weren't necessarily making big bucks yet also.
Right.
And they also did a lot of mortgaging of their future, much like the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's many paths lead to Rome here, but Tom Brady joined a team that was drafting top 10, top 5, and had a bunch of guys on rookie contracts already, you know what I mean? So it's like, one of his tackles, Vita Vea, players like that, Devin White, that certainly helps. And then you throw in somebody who's a Hall of Famer, and that's going to put you over the top when you don't have Jameis Winston throwing 30 interceptions in a season. So back to the defensive line. This is why we want to spend money elsewhere. And I still don't think the Steelers do a whole lot of big splash in free agency. It's just never been their style. There might be a player they go out and get that may be uncharacteristic to their spending habits, but looking at this list and also knowing Minkah Fitzpatrick is on a 5th-year option and likely to get extended at some point, I think that's where a lot of their money goes. Right now, let me see, overthecap.com has the Steelers at 28.7 in team cap space. That may move a little bit. I think this is predicated on the assumption of a $208 million salary cap. So it's obviously going to rise exponentially from where it was last season, where it just dipped to a beyond 2-year low. And let me see. If you're thinking about that 28.7, that doesn't really leave you a lot of room for the Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilsons of the world, or good Lord, I don't even want to mention Deshaun Watson again. So who do you bring back and why, et cetera, et cetera? I'm going off of the free agent list. It's also on overthecap.com. Ben Roethlisberger obviously is retired, but he is listed here. Void years will still come into factor there. But the first name at the top of the list, and we may as well throw a few of them in here, we're talking secondary, 33-year-old Joe Hayden. What do you do with 33-year-old Joe Hayden?
You let him see what you do exactly what they're going to do. You let him see what he can get. If he doesn't get what he thinks he's going to get, and you want to make him an offer to bring him back as, at a rate that fits what you're doing, then you do. That's what you do. You don't do anything else. You can't break the bank for a 33-year-old quarterback, nor are you going to, make any attempt to do so. So I'm sure that they made an offer that was well under what Joe thought his market value was going to be, which is why he decided he was going to go look, and he has stated he's going to play. He's going to go see what he can get. And I mean, I don't know how to say it anymore. If he can get, if he can get what he wants, that's very good. Great. Thank you, Joe, for your service. Go get what you want. And we will laugh heartily at the team that way overpaid you. But
the Alejandro Villanueva situation, which most likely he's going. We said this last season. The Ravens. There's no way that he makes year 2 of that contract with the Ravens, and
no,
somebody will say go back and get him. And what's he now? 35. He's going to be 35 as well. I think.
You saw exactly with the Ravens why we did not re-sign.
Well, yeah, and you know what happened is. Their plans weren't even to have him as a left tackle, but at right tackle he was just abysmal. And then Ronnie Stanley gets hurt, and they had to shift him back over after just that first game where he was bad against the Raiders, and everybody's like pointing fingers, 33 going on 34 for the start of the season, September 22nd. So, but it's like a guy, like if you brought him back, I don't think he's in the plans to like this is what you do, I think, with an Alejandro Villanueva, and I don't even think you do it because you got Dan Moore. Because you're not going to put him on the right, but I'd more or less. We got Chuks Okorafor on this list, for example, and Chuks is a right tackle. So do you bring Chuks back, and are you just drafting a guy? Usually they have a veteran in place and then a potential rookie starter, and that's where Villanueva could be. But I don't think he played well enough to be a right tackle. That's where Zack Banner is probably going to be, unless they cut bait for which I could see them doing. I think they saved
absolutely
like $5 million.
They could.
Who knows if he's healthy and can play,
he came off of IR, but never got reactivated to play in games. And
he showed up. He showed up on the sideline a couple times, but
never went in.
Yeah, once I think, or
he just
here or there.
Clearly, there was something that they did not like, and whether it's just they liked the guys they had more than they liked what Zach was offering, which is a statement in and of itself, considering where that offensive line was last year. That, it will not surprise me if the Hulk moves on and smashes elsewhere.
Yeah, if. That's one of those things where he could get signed, go to camp. He's trying to still cut his teeth and get a spot, and he's not all the way back 100%, and career done. You know what I mean? That happened with Rosie Nix not too long ago.
Let's talk about this Villanueva thing again for a second. So, look, you got Chuks and Dan Moore who are probably, other than the fact Chuks is a free agent, are penciled in as potential starters if they can re-sign Chuks, and if they do re-sign Chuks. Did he play adequately at right tackle? Yeah, I'd say so. Was he an outstanding standout? No. Did he get bullied in the run game? A little bit. Did they all? A little bit. So is he the guy that is the guy you're heading towards as long-term? Probably not. But he is definitely somebody that you could look at and see as consistent depth. The question is, can Chuks Okorafor go get starter money outside of Steelers? And if he can, then he's probably gone. Same thing, like I said, if he can. And I'm not saying he can't.
No, I'm not either.
I just am saying if he can, then somebody's going to overpay for him, and he's going to go there. If not, it won't surprise me if they make a team-friendly kind of an offer, keep him on as depth, and maybe as a starter if they can't replace that or upgrade at the position. You know what I'm saying? But, is he a priority to sign? Probably not.
It just makes things interesting because we're going to be looking. Yeah. I don't think we could stuff it all in this show, but we could look at some free agent lists. We may even have to break it up, offense, defense, of some of the impending free agents. Of which, the reason we put this off so long, it's like we're still not into free agency. We're starting to just get small tidbits of players re-signing with their current team, so it's kind of a moot point to bring up some of these names that probably aren't going anywhere. And I see it all the time. I mean, there's smoke and fire. Like we were talking J.C. Jackson off the air, we're talking about some of these other guys like Laken Tomlinson or something like, if one of these names are popping out, but are you going after a Morgan Moses from the Jets who's in his 30s now? That's like a real short-term fix. And is an aging player, aging players get hurt more often too. Where's his skill and talent level versus the younger player with Chooks? I mean, he may have been here, but now he's a year older, and now he's dipped, and now you've got the same exact thing, and you may spend more money, and may even make you worse at the position. My only thought process is if you bring Chooks back, this changes your draft strategy because you're probably not going tackle first round. I mean, they
probably
could.
Not.
It depends on the contract too.
Yeah.
And you get that rookie there, and you're re-signing Chooks is the rookie going to win out that position? I mean, I see a hesitancy in some areas where the Steelers don't want to start offensive linemen there. Obviously, the exceptions are when you have elite talent like Marquise Pouncey or David DeCastro. They've tried it, second-round picks too. Marcus Gilbert has gone in there. So it depends, I guess, how high, what they're aiming for.
Steelers notoriously don't sign tackles in the first round. They don't draft first-round tackles. If they're going to draft an offensive lineman in the first round, it will not surprise me if it's a guard or a center. Mm-hmm. And if it's a center, it'll be a center with position flexibility, who they think can go in either spot. Yes. Because as much as I said, I don't know if Kendrick Green is going to be a center long term. I don't think they're done trying to let him learn how to play that position. He was somewhat out of position. They thought this was going to be his position in the NFL, and maybe last year was a learning curve year for him. Look, here's the facts about Kendrick Green. Dude is strong as strong can be. He's not big, tall.
Yeah.
He's not going. He's strong enough. He doesn't need to get stronger. He needs to get better at his job and understand leverage better and understand positioning better. But he's not going to get taller. That's just not going to happen.
You got to put some little lifts in his in his cleats.
So he's going to continue to be the stature that he is. Now, whether he can grow into a dominant center that way, I'd say the jury is definitely still out. But that's spam. That is.
I love that you have like the most default ringtone in the history of ringtones. That just made my day.
Well, the reason I do is normally it's off. Until I took the job I have right now, my ringtone hasn't been on for 10 years.
Yeah, me too. I'm a silent buzz guy, and I miss calls all the time because of things like in my pocket. We need a variety show sometimes. It's like the cat with the laser pointer. Well, shiny object.
Yeah. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. That's where I would see if they're going to draft an offensive lineman that's going to be an interior guy in the first round. I don't know that I think that's what they're going to do either. But I'm just I haven't looked deeply enough at how things fall. I haven't started my mock draft insanity stuff, so I don't really know or have a good feel for what's going to be around or what may be around potentially, and what they might want to do.
Yeah,
but as far as the free agent list goes, look, Okorafor, I'd say 60-40, he probably isn't re-signed.
Yeah, I could see a team paying him something. It's it's going to be, and they're going to offer him more years. Yeah, maybe a little larger upfront moolah there with the signing bonus or something. It won't be a drastically different contract than the Steelers will have, and it may be a team. It could even be somebody that's not been good, like the Jaguars or somebody. And I'm just throwing a name out there. I don't know what their needs are. And the mock draft is sanity. The reason we haven't really gone into all that, we still don't know what compensatory picks are going to be doled out either. And free agency makes a huge impact on all of this. So we don't even have the combine. That's around the corner. All of these things impact. You'll see, this person was on our board in December. I'm like, remember, they're still playing college games in December. There's bowl games and everything else that changes people's opinions. You know what I mean? Especially some of the bowl games, because they're more competitive than what they might be in like their league or conference play. Yep. So we did start this off with Joe Hayden. But I had one other thought, and it was the Zack Banner thing, right? Zack Banner did make it in, if you remember this, and I forget which game it was. It was sometime, obviously, later in the fall. It might have been like November. It could have even been that Lions game. Dan Moore came off the field for a single snap. It was something like, I don't know if it was like a penalty, injury. It might have been injury timeout, officials, or equipment, helmet, because he doesn't come off the field ever. So he's the left tackle. And now I'm seeing Zack Banner, and we don't know. You're like, oh, dear Lord, just what this team needs is another injury, right? And he was only out for the one play, but it was very telling that Zack Banner came in and played right tackle, and they immediately shifted Chooks over to left. And that told me everything I needed to know as to why Dan Moore had been playing left tackle. It had nothing to do with Dan Moore. It had more to do, I think, with Zack Banner. So, and that's another thing people don't realize was they lost so much time in training camp where Dotson wasn't healthy, and Dan Moore's a rookie and Kendrick Green's a rookie, and they just never got that. They were supposed to have DeCastro, and DeCastro has to get released. He basically has to quit. And I keep peering into something like the tea leaves and trying to see, hey, I wonder if there's any possibility he got that cleaned up and could come back or something, you know what I mean? And I could start my own little clickbait rumor there, Brian. But I think once he's on the couch, just like Keith Butler with the COVID and Ben Roethlisberger, once you see from the other side, I think these guys take a look at their family, their home life, their future, and what they may already have in the bank and say, you know what, I've done enough, and that's where I am. And I can't fault them for that. I'd probably do the same. But that's Zack Banner. We had Joe Hayden. My thought on Joe Hayden was, if you want to bring him, I've mentioned Willie Gay before. Willie Gay had moved into playing some slot corner or a rotational type thing, and that's what we saw Joe doing at the tail end of the season. Maybe he wasn't 100% healthy, and that's why they had to do it, but it also benefited Ahkello Witherspoon. I think it benefited maybe Cam Sutton to some degree. I think he just got bounced around. He's going to have Sean Davis syndrome where you bounce him around so much that he doesn't know what position he's playing. But that's what I would do with Joe Hayden, and it would probably be a one-year deal. I mean, he's 33, but if you want to shore up some depth and you're saying, Joe, you're kind of a starter, you're going to come out. Will Gay used to get announced with the starters. They would announce 12 or 13 defensive starters. He used to bring Mike Hilton out the same way as a slot corner. So you're still important to us. But I think in Joe's heart, he's already talking about wearing number 5 wherever he's going to play next year. He's going to burn everybody that owns a jersey. Me. Already burned my cousin once when he was wearing 21 when he first came to the Steelers. So that's where I am with Joe Hayden. So sorry, Joe, I don't think there's really a market for 33-year-old corners in this league, especially one that already missed 4 games last season and is a history of missing games. If you can kind of put him on a pitch count and keep him healthy, and then I think he could help. He could help the team, and why not? I'm all about helping the team. I think we should stay in the secondary. And I mentioned Ahkello Witherspoon already, and he had made $4 million this past year. I think it was spread out. There's some void years on this. Surprisingly, 1.5 was all they had in the trade, and then he already had it. Well, I guess he has a void contract of nothing in here. I don't know why he's listed at 4. Nothing on here. Let's see, because it was with the Seahawks. It was a 1 year, $4 million contract. The Seahawks, I think, were on the hook for the rest of that money, so that ended up working out for the Steelers there. When you take a look at positions and what players are being paid, the cornerback position, and I hate this because it jumps the full contract, so bear with me 1 second. Let's see. For 2021, this is last season, Byron Jones was the king of the hill here with the Dolphins at 6.1. Trey Waynes, 15.8. And Hayden, with a cap number, by the way, 15.5. So this is what they counted towards the cap. So Joe Hayden was the 3rd highest salaried player as far as cap hit. And I wish I could do this a different way because it's not exactly the money that was spent, but it's the money that's accounted for when you're making these contracts and you're the general manager. So you have several guys that were north of 10 mil, 9 mil, like Denzel Ward was in the 9.5 category. Jalen Ramsey was too, but some of these guys jump up. Marlon Humphrey at 8, but Marlon Humphrey goes up to 10, 11, and then eventually 14 and 15 because he's got 5 years left on his contract, and Jalen Ramsey is in the same category, 15, 17, 14. Now, I'm not saying that Ahkello Witherspoon is in the same stratosphere as those guys, but it gives you some kind of basis of what you might need to pay this guy. He's got Darius Slay is still making 6.6. Chidobe Awuzie was making 6.2. Gilmore was making 6.1. A base salary of $7 million. Gilmore, also a guy I'm not interested in, 32 years old. I'm looking towards the future. I'm not looking for a rental necessarily. A rental is when you have everything else in place like the Rams, okay? So Ahkello Witherspoon, I think, is a priority. It's just a matter of what he's going to cost, because with some of the other holes and gaps I think that they would have to fill in the draft, unless they sign another free agent corner. Let's put it this way. It's got to be Witherspoon or someone else. They got to sign someone.
This is, if you want to pick the one person who I think is the top priority off of the free agent list, this is the guy right here, Ahkello Witherspoon. He played well enough. He got better as the season went on, and he, made fewer mistakes as he understood the defense. And he played solidly. Did he play stellar? Is it a guy that you're like, oh my God, this is the shutdown corner we've always wanted?
Yes, he did. He had those splash plays, man. That's all I remember. That's all I care about.
Well, that's because you drink Kool-Aid, man. But he played well. And yes, he gave some splash, but it wasn't perfect, and nor would nobody is. But that's basically beside the point. Look, this is the guy. If you can offer him a 2 to 3 year deal, somewhere in between, 3 and 6, 3 and 7 a year, no, you're not.
I was wondering if you're paying attention.
Yeah, I am paying attention. Then absolutely, this is the guy that you try to sign. Out of every person, and I know people are going to lose their mind because of Juju is on this list. Juju is not my priority. This is the priority of the free agent signings, or the free agents the Steelers are going to lose. To me, Ahkello Witherspoon is the top need to re-sign.
I have absolutely zero problem with that. Other than my guy, I just flip him. I really think Terrell Edmunds needs to be somebody that comes back, and he's on this list. I was looking up Joe Hayden's money over the last several seasons. I don't know if Witherspoon is a Joe Hayden money guy. It depends on the year, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see. Cap numbers for this is so tough because they've had to restructure him. So this thing becomes a mess when you're talking about what I'm going to go cash paid. 2017, $7 million. 2017, $7 million for Joe Hayden. 10, 18, 7, and 7. His cap numbers go all over the place. So 3-1, 12, 8-7, 9-6, 15-5. You know what I mean? So it all depends because they are converting some base salary over to into that prorated bonus in order to do their funny magic with the salary cap accounting. I think they can afford Ahkello, and I think they could. What they got to do is they got to pay a secondary. It's got to be Ahkello or a replacement. It's Ahkello / Hayden or replacement, and then if it's Hayden, you got to draft a corner, and I think you got to go pretty high and hope that they're a starter in year 1 or 2. And I just don't think they could afford that luxury. Yeah. The flip side of that too is you could sign somebody from somewhere else and then hope they don't have the beginning of the season jitters or they make a trade. We were worried about this a lot last season when they were going with James Pierre and Justin Lane as kind of their top depth options, and then they make the Witherspoon trade. Everybody's happy, and then Witherspoon gets thrown out there to the Wolves and was out of position on a play, and everybody's down on this guy, and that's it. He sucks. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we like this guy again. Now we're talking about signing him. And it's there's people that dislike Sutton. And, you pair these two guys together, the corners will be just fine. I'm not as so many people get worked up on nickel corner. I think that's a position where you can go cheap on. I don't. It's another one where teams are like, when they spend that kind of money on a nickel corner, I don't know what you're getting out of that nickel corner. Whether that's Mike Hilton or Troy Hill just within the AFC North. It doesn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? But Terrell Edmunds is a name I think would be hard to replace. I think he works and pairs well with Minkah Fitzpatrick. We already talked that Minkah should be getting an extension. I think this is where the bulk of their money is going to end up going. Of course, we haven't gotten the defensive line in some of those free agents, but some of those guys, I think depending on who returns and the cost isn't as high as what it's going to be for these three names between Witherspoon, Edmunds, and Fitzpatrick, and a lot of people are going to look at us sideways. I don't know. The people, everybody that's a fan of the show here and supports us, I think already has a firm grasp on Edmunds' improvement. Could you improve or upgrade the position? Of course. I'm not saying he's like an elite player at that position, but a lot of people make it really sound like he's a bust or he's inadequate, and the only thing he's good at is being available and not hurt and playing like every snap. But the guy is like leads the team in tackles a lot of times. He made some splash plays this season for a lot more than in recent years, and I think that you're finally comfortable. And that having Edmonds paired with Minka allows Minka to do Minka things in much the same way that Ryan Clark allowed Troy Polamalu to do Polamalu things.
Yeah, I would love for them to re-sign Terrell Edmonds. I don't think they're going to. Not because of that he's not a guy that they want. I just don't think. I think it's going to be money.
Somebody else.
Yeah, and that problem is valid, right? Edmonds has played better every single year. He has continued to improve. He was much more raw when he was a rookie. He's much better now. Yes, he still makes some mistakes. All of them make mistakes. Minka makes mistakes. All of them make mistakes.
Hey, wait. Let me interject. According to PFF, Minka isn't even one of the top. There's he was ranked 34th at one point. There's only 32 teams in the NFL. It's just so. This
over here is what I have for PFF.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Anyway,
yeah. But I kind of hope I'm wrong about this, but my gut feeling is that they simply won't resign. Either there won't be a meeting of the minds in an area of compromise, or they just won't be able to give him what he wants to stay. And the fact that they did not exercise, they did not exercise his 5th-year option.
No.
Is telling to me. And it doesn't, when they want you for sure, they're going to exercise that option. They're not going to franchise Terrell Edmonds. You know what I mean? They're absolutely not going to franchise him.
No. But the problem is that 5th-year option is like a franchise tag. What did TJ?
It is.
What did TJ? Well, Bud Dupree. What did Bud? Bud got 16 on the franchise and 11, maybe, and that was just a few seasons ago. And then I forgot what TJ was getting, but the linebackers. See, this is the problem. The NFL, you got 4-3 and 3-4 linebacker, inside outside linebackers, and when they come up with these figures, they're using an average of the salaries, whether it's one of the tags or the 5th-year option, and you end up paying Edmonds more than if you got more control and it hits you right on the cap for that 1 year, instead of being able to do something like an extension or a new contract, and you spread it out and you make it more flexible, so then you could go out and get other free agents. I think the difference here is where what we mentioned with some of these players, we're going to be mentioning, they'll let them test the waters and see what kind of offers they get. And in the case of Joe Hayden, and perhaps we haven't talked Juju yet, perhaps in their situations, it's lukewarm and you're able to bring them back just like Juju last year. And it's not going to be the money that they were talking before they were able to talk with other teams and see what the offers are. That's where Terrell Edmonds is at right now, except I don't think they want the Edmonds' camp is going to be not with the Steelers saying, take a look at your market. The Steelers are probably like, hey, we want you back. Here's a number. And they slide a paper across the table. They look at it and they say, no, we're going to go look at the market because we think we could do better. And they likely will. And that's the thing that scares me more. Now, you mentioned rookie year. Of course, they signed Morgan Burnett, and he got hurt. Edmonds wasn't supposed to start right out of the gate and ended up.
Right.
And it was a learning curve just like any of the other rookies we mentioned. So I don't hold none of that against him. There's nobody on the roster right now, though, that is going to just jump in and fill in for him. Not Miles Killebrew. I think Miles Killebrew is actually on the free agent list, and I think he's somebody I bring him back too, just on count of maybe some depth, but special teams in particular. He was a good special teams player. You got Trey Norwood, and I'm not really sure that he's in that category in a 7th-round pick. So if you don't get Edmonds, you got to go probably get another free agent. And now they're maybe looking to even draft a safety, and it just creates more holes. So that's why you want to bring Edmonds back. Let's jump out of this secondary maybe, unless you got another thought there.
I do not.
Okay. Offensively, let's look at some skill position players. Juju Smith-Schuster, briefly mentioned. Eric Ebron.
James Washington.
Yeah, James Washington, also
Ray
on here. Ray. So I like Ray coming back. special teams guy, probably not expensive. Looked pretty decent as a receiver, called upon after Juju getting hurt. Brian, they'll draft someone too. They'll have the receiver room loaded up. People are making a big deal about James Washington perhaps being misused. He couldn't crack this roster. This is wide receiver U. He couldn't do it with Ben. There's no point. I don't think he would even want to come back at this point with the uncertainty.
I think James Washington is gone.
Yeah.
I think James Washington here. This is what the thing. James Washington was supposed to be the guy that was going to win all combat catches, right? And the problem was he couldn't get even enough separation to, in most cases, to win those catches. It's different winning those combat catches in college than it is in the pros because you're facing the elite of the elite, and that's not as simple. He just didn't pan out to what they expected him to be, or what they hoped he would be. I like James Washington, don't get me wrong, but I do not think he's going to be back. I will say the same thing about Juju. I love Juju. I just don't think he's going to be back. I think at this point, Juju doesn't want to be back. Candidly,
maybe.
I think he wants to go someplace else. It will depend on what his market ends up being again, right? Unfortunately, Juju got a little screwed.
He did.
Because, he took less money to stay with the Steelers. That may have more to do with his relationship with Ben than it did with anything else. But it was a prove-it kind of contract. The guy gets hurt, and now you don't have the prove-it year. His numbers are nothing for anybody to get super excited about. He may have absolutely decreased his value in free agency because of last season, and that's unfortunate. But if, again, it does potentially benefit the Steelers if people go and lowball Juju because of last season. Hey, maybe they can find another 1-year prove-it deal and he comes back. I think that's like under 10% chance. I think 90 plus chance he's gone.
Juju to me is like another Hines Ward possession receiver. He could put up 1,000 here or there, depending on a lot of people. There was another one that was floating around, a graphic, and it was that he hadn't had the big numbers since Antonio Brown left. Well, that's obviously true because AB was a true wide receiver one. But at the same time, Juju actually hasn't been healthy in those like 3 seasons or so since he's left. And look at the quarterback play that was also involved. The play calling, everything else is dramatically different than what Antonio Brown was dealing with. I always wonder, too, that 2018 year, how much Randy Fichtner and that as an offensive coordinator, like Le'Veon Bell's like, nah, I'm not dealing with that. And Antonio Brown got frustrated with it. I mean, no one ever really makes that link after all the success they had with Todd Haley.
I'm not giving Antonio Brown any outs on anything. He just went into crazy man land.
Well, he really has. Yeah. I don't need to get into that too much, but it was, I think you're right. I would love Juju to be back, but you got Deante Johnson entering his final year of his rookie deal. And people are going to say, oh, it's recency bias. You see him drop a pass or two here or there. He hadn't dropped passes all year. And in the grand scheme of things, he's, I don't even think, in the top 10 or top 15 of receivers who drop passes during the entire season. He's definitely a threat. He's definitely growing as a wide receiver. And he's somebody that you probably you're looking at during training camp, Minka, and you're probably looking at Deante with an extension also. So some of this money is going to go. And I don't mean just this year's money. You got a percentage of what you think the cap may arrive at in following years and kick the money down the road as the Steelers always did, and just hope you don't have another COVID situation where the cap bottoms out and then you're, oh crap, 30 million over like they ended up being. So it wasn't really that the cap was mismanaged. It was something that was completely out of their control. But I can't see paying 2 wide receivers as much as I would like Juju to be. He could be a Steeler for life. And I think as far as blocking, possession, and everything else that he offers, he's now a veteran, his leadership, his personality, it's infectious. He's fun. He gets the team fired up and people to play. You could feel that. You could sense it when he's on the field. But how much is that worth to you in dollars and cents? And it doesn't seem like it's something where the Steelers, they pay one guy usually, and then the rest it's just part of that pipeline. And it's been that way over the years from Mike Wallace to Antonio Brown. Oh, Santonio Holmes before that. So one guy goes, the other guy gets the contract, and one guy doesn't. Emmanuel Sanders left, and you had Martavis Bryant who couldn't stay on the field, et cetera, et cetera. So let me see.
The segue about drops leads right into the next
Yes,
guy.
it does. And I'm not interested in Eric Ebron, so we can make that one quick.
Quick. He won't be back.
Yeah, don't need him. And there's a lot of talk about drafting a tight end. There's is it Cam Hayward? Is that his brother or cousin or somebody that's coming out now?
Yeah.
And it's
Connor Hayward.
Yeah. And people are talking about that, maybe a late round pick. I don't know where he falls in the pecking order right now, but looks like a mid to late round pick or UDFA.
He's a mid to low round pick.
Yeah. But you haven't looked at the draft stuff yet. And I haven't. That's why I'm
But I know what his contributions have been at Michigan State. He's a mid to low round pick.
Yeah, maybe it's a camp invite type of thing, but you've got Pat Fryermuth's locked down. Zach Gentry also, I think, entering the end of his rookie. He's like another Matt Spaeth. So if he's entering the final part of his rookie season, I give him a pretty solid it's not going to be a huge deal, but I give him some money to stick around, and you got both of your tight ends there. My guy, Kevin Rader, he'll always be fighting in that tight end 3 spot to keep his position. And they had Jay Sternberger, I think they gave a futures contract to, who was on the practice squad, and they picked up from somewhere along the line, I think Green Bay, over the course of the season. So they're loaded at the tight end room. There's no room for Eric Ebron or his salary or his contract. He's not healthy. He's not reliable in a number of ways. To put it politely. Let's see. We got some linemen, and there may be a few names that we missed. Josh Dobbs is on this list. Let's throw that out real quick. They're going to need 4 quarterbacks for camp. He'll be back because he's not
probably
no other deal anywhere else. He's stuck around with the team. He was hanging around on the sidelines, even though he couldn't come.
Knows
back
the offense, knows how to run it. He probably will be back as a camp.
He'll be helping all the young bucks that come in from camp, any of the hopefuls. So, and he'll be capable of operating in the preseason. And many people will say, "Oh, he should be the starter." Maybe, I don't know. He hasn't been able to duplicate that same magic when he knocked out the GOAT, Landry Jones, from his spot. So we'll see. Let's see. So B.J. Finney, Trey Turner. Who's my other lineman? J.C. Hassenauer. I think, Chooks. We mentioned Chooks. We don't have to bring him up again. Those are our guys. I don't see Finney back. He's just been hurt and hasn't been available. Trey Turner is a real, I don't know. He's 29.
No.
I wasn't impressed enough. Well, you were saying
no.
You were saying earlier draft type of plan or free agent plan. Somebody that's position flexible could even kick Green out of there if it was the Iowa Center, for example, and shift him over. Where's he going to go? Maybe you move Dotson to one way and move Green. Was Green left guard? I think when he was in Illinois. I think so.
Don't remember.
So you might have some shifting around there. We saw Dotson fill in for DeCastro the previous year. Maybe he plays better. It's the same thing like we were saying with Banner and whatnot. So
Trey Turner is a no. I'm
not enamored.
J. Finney is a no. But J.C. Hassenauer played well enough to come back as depth.
I agree.
Again, this will be the same thing as a Chooks concept, or who's the guy that went to San Diego? Matt Filer.
Yeah.
Did J.C. Hassenauer show enough to other teams that somebody's going to overpay him? Possibly. I doubt it, but it's, look, Matt Filer didn't do a whole hell of a lot before he got a big, huge deal.
Let's pump the brakes on that with Hassenauer. He's an exclusive rights free agent.
Oh, well, then never mind.
Throw that on there. So he's not going.
Forget that. He's not going anywhere. He'll be back.
But they don't tender him necessarily.
Yeah.
So, but he's exclusive. So he pretty much, if he was restricted and a team threw, let's say, $3 or $4 million at him, and the Steelers were like, "Nah, we only want to pay him like 1.5 or something like that."
Yeah,
that's a whole other story. But the exclusive, I don't think the needle is moving anywhere there. Believe it or not, he's 27 years old too. So.
Oh, yeah, he's getting up there.
Yeah, he is. He really is. Let's see. Defensively, I think we're finally on some defensive players here. Here's some guys I liked as far as depth pieces. Montravius Adams and a former first-round pick in Taco Charlton.
Yep.
I like both of those guys to come back. And they probably won't be asking for much. And they got the opportunity. The Steelers gave them the opportunity. So there's probably a little more. There won't be hesitancy with them to jump ship and go somewhere else. They'll probably be begging at the door to come back, and so to speak.
Maybe, but I think they will be brought back. There's 3 guys in a row on this list: Montravis, Arthur Millette, who's a corner, and Taco. I think all 3 of those guys could be back. Millette played better than I think anybody would have thought he was going to. But again, not as a starter, as a depth piece. All these guys, if they can get the right numbers, they'll be back. Yeah.
Mollett was he's another like kind of the hybrid safety kind of role.
Yeah.
He was strictly safety with the Jets, but ends up playing a lot of slot corner or kind of dime backer type role in those multiple DB sets. And that's another one where you've got he's 29, but a veteran and somebody you don't have to teach or fill a hole. So it makes sense to bring a few of these guys back to compete for these spots. We did miss one guy at the tail end. We'll have to circle back around, but Bobby Spillane here is another one. Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen is he's restricted, so it could be one of these things.
So Spilly, both of them are.
Yes. So I expect both of them to be back. I'm trying to see if we've missed anyone else other than there'll be a magic buzzword here.
The key element on this list, the key guy, DeMarcus Christmas.
No, I was going to say Dwayne Haskins is on here too, but we already know
but
that
I'm joking. Wait, you know what? I have this.
DeMarcus Christmas. I was looking at DeMarcus Ace.
I had this handy. I had it handy. My sarcasm sign. Anyway, look.
I look around my desk and it's like right here, the command center, and I got one of these Steelers calendars, right? So this is this year's calendar, but when they put these to print, they can't use like last year's stats or sometimes even a year before. So this has like a lot of stuff like who ran for the most yards in 2019, and I get to relive that season. 365 days, except for when they ask something like, what native of Newcastle, Pennsylvania earned 3 Pro Bowl selections for the Steelers at defensive end in the 1950s? Yeah,
I don't know, and I don't care.
I don't think anybody knows, but you can turn it upside down here, and it's Bill McPeak, of course. Steelers,
of course.
Steelers Hall of I don't remember. And then you get something like opposing team scored a league low, tied 7 touchdowns on the ground against the Steelers in 2019. So I can come at you with facts about the 2019 season just all day long, man. I understand it. They print these in like September, so people could get a jump on giving them out for gifts and whatnot, and it makes them practically worthless. It's still kind of cool, though, sometimes to see some of this stuff. I had no idea. Bill McPeak. I'm going to have to look him up. Somebody somewhere is going to be like, you know what? I've been watching the Steelers for 70 years. You're not a true fan, Joe and Brian. You are not true fans. You don't remember Bill.
I'm sorry.
I
was not able to watch Bill McPeak from the non-existent womb of my parents.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm like, I don't think my mom was even kicking it back in.
Well, my mother
when
was,
he was.
But
maybe a couple
I sure
years.
was.
Yeah,
if she was pregnant in the 50s, then there was a lot of controversy happening. I'll just say that.
or there was a really really screwy arranged marriage somewhere halfway across the world. So
I loves him so much.
The only name I think we missed on the list was I was mentioning Dwayne Haskins, and he's restricted, and they're going to tender him original round, which actually instead of tendering him first round and they do the original round, it pays out a little less. It doesn't hit your cap as much, but another team is going to have to still offer the original round as a first round. It doesn't happen that often that you're in that position to be able to do that. So I have no doubts that he's in the mix for competing with Mason Rudolph for a starting position. As much as I fanboy on the Rudolph thing, I have to come back around the Haskins and put on my Ohio State cap and still remember. Or did I say I meant fanboy or defend Mason Rudolph? Because I still think that these two could compete.
You are the Mason Rudolph
It'd be
defender.
funny because if Dwayne Haskins wasn't already part of this mix and he was one of these random names that are out there like a Mariota or a Winston, everybody would be throwing him at the Steelers too and linking him to the team. You know that? Like, let's say he was with Washington last year and then he rode the bench and they're just going to say Ron Rivera treated him wrong and he got a raw deal and he wasn't properly used. But now that he's here, it's like, no, we don't care. But Kalen Ballage was the other one. That was the one we looked over. Running back. I don't know what the Steelers do with running backs. They still got Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland. I don't know what they do with them. But they're already under contract. I don't think they go anywhere or do anything special. And to have 4 or 5 running backs, especially when you consider a fullback like Derek Watt, maybe they consider a tight end playing a little bit of the H-back type roles like they did before. I don't know. I don't know if they. This is like so many different names that have been around before, like Stephen Ridley or even Niall Davis, who didn't make the team. I just don't see a fit for Ballage personally.
Yeah, I agree. The running back room is as solid as it's been in many years, with Najee being your bell cow, right? And there's no reason to think that it would. So anybody else is just a spot back. I think Snell can handle those duties. I don't think Balaj is back, but we'll see. They're going to be bodies that get added in for camp. They're going to pick a running back some point in the draft late to come in and add as a person to be in camp. Maybe Balaj gets an invite to camp and gets some kind of a really low level deal to show up and see if he can make the roster again. But that ain't worrying me.
Yeah, I can't wait to go through the whole list of players, to be completely honest. We're going to be doing that in the near future, because there'll always be the speculation of you got some of the bigger names or even some of the low-level names. We'll put this one out there, like Marlon Mack. And that's kind of the move that the Steelers would maybe do, is somebody that's been banged up a little bit, showed a little bit, balled out some with the Colts, obviously lost his role to not only being hurt, but Jonathan Taylor. And, God, that just makes me think of the Carson Wentz thing even more. I know T.Y. Hilton hasn't been so healthy, but Michael Pittman and that offensive line is really great there. And you got Frank Reich, and then people are like, oh, no, Carson Wentz could do much better with Matt Canada and Mike Tomlin, the guys we want to fire. So it just drives me crazy when I think of these things. But that's kind of one of those names we'll toss around here. I need that. That needs to go right up here, maybe right below the eat, sleep football, right there. And I actually have a nail on the wall because I had the Christmas one up not too long ago. So I rotate the set out a little bit. I know you're probably going to have to do something with that soon enough. You got any more additions there to the collection?
I have a Dan Rooney full-sized autograph copy.
Nice.
That's an addition. What else did I just get in? Pat Fryermuth. Helmets. Yeah, but I only do full-size now. And I don't have any more room.
You're crazy
and
guy.
I don't know what to
do full
I don't
size.
know where to put them. I don't know where to put them now. So I've got boxes that haven't even been opened.
Yeah. I've got the kicker football sitting up there. You can't see it on camera, but give it
2005. This is my favorite one that I have. 2005. Oh, I got a Boz, Wizard of Boz.
Yeah, I got Boz and Sweesham on there. If Jeff is listening anywhere, I have to send Jeff a message. I should get Jeff back on at some point.
Yeah.
Jeff Reed and talk with him. He's a great guy.
Good dude. Yeah.
Great guy. I almost said crazy guy, but it's like a crazy good, like give your shirt off the back type guy.
2005 starting offensive line helmet. Have that.
That's interesting. You should get the 08 because nobody would know who they are.
Well, that's true. But I needed to get 05 because of who was on it.
Was it the 08 or was it the 2010s? Because there was Flozell Adams was the 2010. I forget which of the Super Bowls, but I think it was 08 was one that was like in particular. Yeah, because Pouncey didn't end up playing in the Super Bowl in 2010. No. They ended up with Doug Legursky. Yeah, Doug Legursky. That's a shame. That was all Mendenhall anyway. So we'll talk about that. We've got draft things. It's still down the road. We can talk about draft busts and everything else. Brian, it's been fun. Maybe we'll have to look at some other free agents that are hanging around here soon in the near future too. But thanks for joining me again. Good buddy, friend, pal. Like I said, if anyone could see the behind the scenes, and we've both been busy beavers lately. So apologies, folks. I mean, it's it's coming as we can get them, and kind of the off season too. We like to take a little bit of a break, and God, it's like there's only so much you could talk about sometimes too, and I just hate the ad nauseum type stuff. I just saw another one, and I know it was Chris Carter, so I don't want to dump on him. He's just trying to produce content, and he pitched another name, and I was like, no, Chris, I like you. Why did you bring that one up? I don't remember who it was, but I understand where he's coming from. I won't do it. I try not to. I can't do it, Captain. I probably do enough just with mentioning Mason Rudolph. There's people who are already ready to put him in the he who shall not be named.
Oh, he's not in that category.
No, he's not.
I name Mason. I name Mason Rudolph all the time. I'm not naming that other guy ever.
His name comes up a lot recently.
Well, it's not my fault.
No, it's not. No, it's neither of our faults. I see it all the time. It's like that's what people think they're heading to, and I got to bring that up just for a quick memento because he was actually valued. They didn't throw the ball a whole lot. That wasn't the era of NFL that we were in. That was Barry Foster and Bam Morris pound the football. And, he forever gets remembered for throwing the 3 picks, making Larry Brown one of the highest paid defensive backs, or highest paid when he went from the Cowboys to Raiders after that Super Bowl. And then let's not
forget, he blew the AFC Championship game the year before, too.
Was that Stan Humphries that beat him, I think?
I don't remember. But, yeah, he blew that game the year before. Same thing. I mean, this is a guy who cost Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green Super Bowl rings. Period. That's all. I'm done with him. He shall not be named.
That's who Jimmy G is. The exact same player. Postseason, he turns into a pumpkin. And but N014. If you don't know who we're talking about,
no.
Yes.
Don't do it
with O'Connell.
No.
I won't say it. There was some. That's what it was. Brian. One of the sites put out one of these interviews. Somebody had asked, or something had surfaced, that Mike Tomlin was trying to coerce him. He was with the Titans last, approaching 40 years old or whatever, and it was something like around Cordell Stewart's end of that time and Ben getting drafted, that I guess Cowher had picked up the phone and was talking to him about maybe coming out of retirement and playing, which would have drove everybody crazy. And he was probably like, yeah, I'm not doing that either. There's no amount of money. But at one time, this guy was paid almost twice as much as Rod Woodson. And that's how valued he was. He was drafted by Chuck Noll. So there's a lot of things there that when people just dump on him, those championship games, by all means, dump. And he cut bait, and he was only making not even, I think, $1 million more with the contract he took with the Jets. But those weren't really the dark ages. You had bad quarterback play and the games that counted, and that's what sucks. And Cordell, the same thing happened with him at one point too. And Ben has done it the last few seasons as well, the last few playoff games. That Jaguars game, 13-3 with the bye and the turnover, the pick 6, and yeah, he kept you in the game, but it also hurt. And the Browns game, the wild card game. The Steelers have just had some miserable luck no matter who the quarterback is. So even he who shall not be named is, you have he who shall be named over and over and over with Ben Roethlisberger. That's had, some people just have bad games. I'm not trying to dump on Ben or anything either, but it's just, I'm not into the panic mode. I don't think it's the dark ages. There's people who bring up, can we name Mark Malone?
Yeah, you can name Mark Malone. He was the worst quarterback of all time, but he didn't lose.
Worse than Bubby?
Yeah, he was worse than Bub. He was horrible. But
how'd they get
he
to
was
an AFC
always
title
horrible
game with him? How'd they get to an AFC title with them?
I don't even know.
You talk about first round bust. You talk about first round bust. Now he was before. I was born in '81, so I didn't get to see a lot of Mark Malone. I did get to see some of Bubby, and Bubby used to made fun.
I watched his whole career. So
Bubby versus Bernie at one point. That was the household where I was growing up. Friends and family. Bubby versus Bernie.
Fun. See, Bubby was fun because he's a good old boy, and he was fun.
He was another guy who went to the Jets.
Mark Malone was a pretty boy who you thought was going to turn out to be something, and then just was not good. And
is that like the Magnum PI mustache?
Yeah, he had a porn mustache. He had a porno mustache for sure.
We could dedicate a whole show to bad Steelers quarterbacks. Let's do it. Let's talk about them.
Why? Why would we do that?
Because I think it would be fun.
We could just talk about their numbers. Okay, I don't like.
Although we kind of already did.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm. You know what? I'm down for whatever.
Hey, hold on, everyone. Just 1 second. I got to whisper something over to Brian. We need stuff to talk about.
Okay. Can we? You know what? Here's we just have a show where we don't talk about anything. We'll do the Seinfeld episode of Steel City Underground, the show about nothing.
Let's do that too. Let's see how many things we can come up with that have to deal with the Steelers that has absolutely nothing to do with the actual players on the field or maybe even the coaches. I'm sure we could come up with some stuff. There's already stadium naming rights is around the corner.
Oh my God, it's a controversy. Hunts is going to be the new stadium name.
Can't
Hunts
do that
instead of Hines.
I might disown all of this stuff. You can't do Hunts. That is known.
Hunts Red Zone.
My 8-year-old daughter even knows it's Heinz ketchup or hit the road. Now I know McDonald's has whatever they put in their packet, and it's passable. That's only because they put salt on the burger too.
I tweeted this. This is an excellent segue to the end of the show.
Good.
There's a diner that we go to. Used to always have Heinz ketchup on. I guess Heinz was a little too expensive for them, so they replaced it with something called Farmer's Best ketchup. It is the nastiest, most awful ketchup. I'm like, if this is the best Farmers can do, then that's just not. It's like it's the worst ketchup ever.
The Farmers have failed us, and it's going to turn into Interstellar where all the crops turn to dust.
Exactly. It was so bad. And I'm like, and I literally said, the waitress came up and said, "Can I get you anything, dear?" And I went, "Could you get me some Heinz ketchup, please?" And she's like, "Well, we have ketchup." I said, "No, that's crap." That's the worst ketchup I ever.
That's catsup.
That's the worst ketchup I ever tried in my life. It has no flavor. It is like you took all the crap that's at the top of the Heinz ketchup before you shake it up and squirted it into a bottle and said, "This is Farmer's Best." It's like ketchup goo. I don't know. It was awful.
Coagulated. Yeah.
Yeah, no, coagulated nastiness.
Like, we're started a controversy with the 2%ers. We're going to have to come around and get the other 98% or whatever on the program.
David and Charles, I swear to God, I'm getting helmets out. I promise you. I'm trying to get them out today. It's just my life has been a quagmire of business.
I've got nothing to do with that. Well, Brian, let's put a bow on this. We've got things and stuff to do also ourselves. So it's
I got to get ready to go to Vegas, baby. Yeah, Vegas, baby.
All righty, folks. Well, that'll do it for us. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. And as always, we encourage everyone out there on every show we close out with to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.